Hey, what is up, my friends? I'm Toby Wayne. This is Toby Wayne Studios, and in this video, I'm going to be applying my Super Sculpey clay around my armature that I have put tin foil around as a filler to kind of help with the baking processes. I did establish my pose, so I'm pretty happy with that. And we are going to go ahead and jump right in and start applying this clay. Again, this is Super Sculpey Firm. It's kind of spendy, as you can see. It's $16. I remember back in the day when I would buy this stuff, it'd be like $10 a block. So it's gone up a wee little bit, but that's okay. It is all good. So we're going to go ahead and just grab our little bit of clay here. And I am going to start warming it up by kneading it in my hands. And like I said in my one of my last videos, that Super Sculpey has a tendency that once you put it in the oven to start baking, it will have a tendency to start cracking. There are like I don't know, heat cracks, I guess you could call them. It's been that way forever, so it is what it is. And those can be repaired, but I like the idea of having a good solid cured statue. So that's where the tin foil is going to come into play, because that is, in my opinion, in my view, it acts as a heat, I guess, reservoir. It helps cook the sculpture from the inside out. I may be making that up. I don't know. It sounds legit. That's what tin foil does, right? I mean, you cover your frozen dishes, and that helps to hold the heat in, right? Um, so I am a little bit concerned about the thicknesses of these arms, you know, because it says on the back of the box you're supposed to bake it a quarter, pieces thicker than a ½ inch, may need bulking out with crumpled aluminum foil or armature wire, and then 15 minutes per ½ inch. So, yeah, I don't know yet. Maybe I will just put some tin foil on those arms just real quick. I got to be careful, because I'm sure I'm going to be cutting some of this stuff up, but I guess I'm gonna work around this bicep a little bit more, just for just for safety reasons of the baking part. Now, you know what? Forget it. I'm not gonna do that. Here's the foil. Bye. Okay, so I am gonna bulk up that other bicep though. Forearm should be okay, but let's see. Let's see if I can keep in frame too while I'm at it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I've warmed up my clay a little bit here through the kneading processes, and we're going to go ahead and just kind of start applying the clay directly to the armature. And hopefully, if all goes as planned, we're going to just get a nice body fleshed out form here. That's basically what I want to just accomplish in this video, is just getting the Sculpey on the armature itself. And this is going to be kind of just very quick, because I want to try to get that locked in place, so the tin foil doesn't want to move around on me. And I guess I probably could have done without putting that on there. Well, I'm debating on that or not. You know what? I think I'm going to take my chances, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove these foil around these arms here. It'll be easier for me to flesh it out. Okay. I'm going to see if I can just back this up a little bit here, so I'm not missing out on anything for you guys. So this is just basically me just getting this clay on and blocking in the human form. And like I said, I'm going to keep my joints visible where I can see them, so I know where to add and where to take away. See, now here's an issue I've already ran into. So this is the edge of the armature. So technically those shoulders should be out here. This one I'm digging. It's not bad, but this one's already, as you can see, we're already hitting, you know, the edge of the armature. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just kind of take this off, and then I'll have something to work with. Because that's my big thing. That's a lot of the reasons why I don't use an armature, is because I always run into that issue of the armature is actually sticking out of the sculpture, you know, and then I have to either go in and add, you know, more clay to it to kind of bulk it in, or grind it, bulk it out so that that metal isn't there, or go in with a Dremel tool and start to grind it off. Okay. Again, this is kind of one of my first real attempts at doing a statue. So thank you guys for being a part of this. And I'm sure there's going to be spots that are going to be, you know, questionable or rough. So if there's anything that you guys see that I'm doing that you guys have a suggestion on making it better, I am all ears. I am not one of those guys that is going to take offense to anything that's, you know, that you guys suggest. I'm always open to new suggestions and to learn, because that's really what this is all about. I'll share with you what I know, and if you've got something to share, feel free to share away. Okay. So this video might be a little bit longer because it does take some time to get all these pieces laid out. I think I'm going to go this way so that the clay wraps around and locks better rather than long ways. And again, I'll be able to come back in once I get my clay on here. I can come back in and start, you know, taking away and all that good stuff. And you know, it's funny is I'm so used to Chavant oil-based clays that a part of me wants to heat this up so that I can it's more pliable, but that is the furthest thing from what I want to do, because this stuff, once heated, bakes. So there won't be any of that, I promise. But I gotta just knead it with my hands, and that'll give me some warmth to heat the clay up and all that good stuff. Okay, so I'm just gonna try to blend this a little better. And like I said, we will kind of play this by ear to see what we're going to be sculpting once I start getting the clay on. I might find that my proportions were completely off, and I have to now improvise and sculpt something like maybe an alien or something. I don't know, you know, whatever the armature is going to give us is what we're going to take. So work with me on this one, and we'll have fun, all right? And what I'm going to do is, once I get my proportions and everything the way I want them, then I am going to come back in with my sculpting rake, and I'll just start shaping the body and smoothing things over and making sure that those are where I want it to be. And I better cover up his little crotch area. What do you think? Don't need no tinfoil nudity, right? See, that's what I'm talking about with pushing that clay in right there, or that tin foil in, so that it gives me something to work with. The tin foil actually is, I'm hoping that it does not work against me in this case, but that'll be for the next one. If I find that it doesn't work, I'll just not use the tin foil the next time. I think there are guys out there that don't use tin foil. They just sculpt it directly on, and then they just bake it, you know, for a long time. You know, on a lower heat, so that it constantly is cooking. And the tinfoil could almost be a hindrance if we're not careful. Yeah, see how it's just kind of smushing around in there. I have seen some guys when they go to do their statue, they will mix up a little bit of Magic Sculpt and press on there so that it locks the sculpture in its form, and also gives something for the Sculpey to hang on to. Again, I could have done that, but again, it's, you know, kind of my first attempt out on this, so I don't want to bumble it up. I want to just learn as I go. So hopefully this will be a great learning experience for everybody involved. So there's my hips, and as you'll see, I'm gonna have to come back in and really start applying my filler there of clay to kind of start bulking them in. This is just to get the main portions done. Blocked in, and let's see if I can not dump him on his head. And go ahead and press some clay on there. I want to try to avoid you know, getting spots in here that have like little air pockets under them. I just want to try to avoid that, just simply because I think that could be an issue as far as making sure that it bakes thoroughly underneath that in that frame. And it's going to look pretty rough to start, my friends, but it'll start taking shape, I'm hoping. We'll see. Okay, did I just snort right there? I'm not really sure. But anyway. Put a little bit of clay on his lower back. And I'm not sure if it is a zombie, what kind of zombie I'm going to have. I love the big fat bloated zombies, but I'm not sure if that's what I want to do for my first one, just simply because of size. I guess I'm just trying to get myself confident and having a basic understanding of, you know, the anatomy and how this is going to work, and, you know, if this is going to work. I know it'll work. It'll work, my friends, but I just want to... Now this is driving me crazy, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add a little bit of a shoulder. But at the same time, I do like a good creepy skinny zombie too. Okay. So I got to be careful not to spend too much time trying to get basic shapes. This video, I'm just trying to get the clay down onto the actual sculpture itself so that we have something to work with. Blocking in forms. And if you'll notice, my arms here are a little bit short, but I did that because I want to be able to maybe slide them off and on and work on them. So we're just gonna kind of play that by ear as well, because I may end up having to cut those off and kind of bulk them in that, you know, a different way. But we'll see. Once I get the clay on here, then hopefully it'll solidify a little bit more. And I want to be careful so I can see where my bins are. Let me see if I can keep in frame too. get a good seal on these so that the clay adheres and sticks and it's not spinning around up and in there. And again, this is, I think, where the importance of that rake is going to come in to play. Yeah, see, so here's there's the edge of my wire armature right there. So I'm almost wondering if I should have pinched them in so that this can be at a more normal size. But now that I've got my clay on there, I'm kind of limited now because I've put that foil on there. So we'll see. I may end up having to come in and cut that out of there because I'm not very happy with that foil. It's very limiting, limits me. So anyway, we'll deal with that, I guess, when the time comes. Okay. But until then, I'll just put a little piece of clay over it. I'm going to go ahead and punch this on real quick. I guess what I could have done too is put notches in my sculpture so that that clay has something to hang on to, but I don't know yet. I guess I don't know how much of a difference that would have actually made, or if it would work, or I don't know. I'm not sure. And I think that once this clay, because the clay is warm now, it will harden up a little bit, which is a good thing. So once I get it on the, once it cools down from the heat from my hands, it'll solidify up a little bit more and it'll be a little easier to work with. And let's lay a little bit of the chest out and or rib cage. Okay. Blocking it in. So yeah, so there's my lower torso. Here's probably where my rib cage will come up. There's my chest. Hip bones, groin. Let's put myself a little bit of just the tiniest little bit of a rib cage separation so I see where I'm working with here. And I got to say this, I'm one of those guys that for some reason I have a difficult time when I read a book, because I'm that kind of guy that as I've got the book open and I'm looking at it, I start with paragraph 1, sentence 1, and I start reading through, and in my mind I'm trying to read it for some reason as fast as I can, and so I actually catch myself skipping over sentences and going to the next paragraph without reading it, and then eventually within a couple of minutes I'm literally turning pages trying to skim ahead, and I don't know if that's just me being impatient or if it's some sort of a mental thing or what the deal is. But I mean, it sucks when I get to the last page of the book, if I even make it to the last page, because I'll catch myself trying to go right down to that bottom page and read that last paragraph. It is a nightmare, and sculpting is no different to me. I start blocking things in, and then I get so excited over what it is that I'm working on that I catch myself trying to finesse, and I'll literally start jumping ahead and doing details on torsos or whatever the case is. So it works against me for sure, but that's something I just have to learn to get away from. You know, I gotta try to figure out how I can not do that, because it's counterproductive. So see, so there I cut myself a little bit of tinfoil. See how I left it a little open so I could press it. I didn't crunch it down, because once crushed tinfoil is in, there's no more adjusting it. It is what it is once it's pushed as far as it'll go. It does not want to push in any further. So I learned that a long time ago. Give yourself some room to work with, and maybe that's why, you know, I shouldn't put the tin foil in there, because yes, it's thick or sculpey, but that just means I'll have to just bake it a little longer. But I'm not sure yet. Okay, so there's bulking that in. Here's my ribs. So let's go ahead and head down to the bottom here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to also I want to keep in mind too where I'm going to stick this sculpture in. So I'm going to have to cut this and press this in. So I'm giving myself, you know, something to work with back here. Oops, dropped my clay. So I'm going to go ahead and knead this up here a little bit. And I'm going to give him some nice buttocks. I'm an idiot. And like I said, I may have to come back in with more wire and do a different style with this hand, this armature, because I see that this clay wants to have a tendency to get air pockets and then it just spins around. So I'm not sure exactly. See how it's just kind of squishing? There's really nothing for it to hang on to. So I may cut those off and add foil or do something to get that clay to hang on to. Smoothing in the back half. And again, this is where once I get the clay on, that's where I'll be able to come back in with my rake and just start finessing and fine tuning and laying in clay that needs to be smoothing. But I mean, it's starting to take shape, so that's a good thing because, you know, it's a good thing to get started on something, you know, start taking some shape, and I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna just kind of start laying on my calves and my feet. It's so bizarre to me how that clay doesn't want to stick very good. So I'm going to be gentle at the start to make sure that it gets a good connection between the two clays so it'll want to stick. Guess it's better to do multiple small sections so that clay locks. Rather than just spinning around on that wire, because like I said, I don't really know how to keep them from slipping around. Maybe the tin foil is a good idea. I don't know. Maybe if I just do, like I said, small pieces and just kind of blend that way rather than trying to do great big stretches of clay. A little more manageable that way, I'm assuming. Yeah, I think the smaller batches of clay is the better way to go, because then it's more pliable, a little easier to work with. Yeah, I think that's the better way to go. And like I said, I think it might have been a good idea to put a little magic sculpt on there so it would have had something to hang on to. Next time, next time. Very carefully start to blend this together. Yeah, that does not want to really stay. Hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna may have to redo that off camera or something. Give myself, figure out a way to blend it. Okay. And I also can keep my wire armature paper that I had, and I can keep it to the side and do measurements off of that, because I also, and that's how I can go back and double check to make sure my knees and everything are lined back up to the proper dimensions and all that good stuff, because I've got them marked, so that's good. Add a little bit of a quad here, just the tiniest little bit of a quad to differentiate the shapes. Okay. I'm excited to make progress on this guy, whatever he is. And this is the very boring, tedious part, is just getting that clay established. And also, I will say this, the oil-based clay definitely has a tendency to stick better than this Super Sculpey, for sure, because it's just got just such, different properties. Yeah, so I've got it basically figured out now to where I'm wanting to put the body parts here. There's my kneecap. So at least I've got a basic guideline now of where my clay is going to be. Let me see if I can back this out a little bit. Yeah, so there's my basic rough outline, which is, what I needed to do. Now what I need to do is come back in with my rake and just kind of start blending these clay chunks together to really get a good, decent lock of between the two clays. I got to go get my my rake out of the living room area, but yeah, so this is the start. I mean, it gives us a basic idea of where it's going to go. And I'm thinking probably in the next video, I will snip this and we'll just insert it, you know, like in the back somewhere. I'm trying to pinpoint how I'm gonna, where I'm gonna, how long I'm gonna snip this, because I still have yet to bulk in my back a little bit. Maybe I'll just go ahead and snip this, or you know, put this in here now. Let me give myself a little bit of room to work. And you know what? Just for you guys, I'm going to snip this right now. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, even though I don't really know what I'm going to do. So I figure, like I said, I've got to give myself a little bit of room here to work with. So I'm thinking, obviously, it's going to, you know, punch in his lower back right above his butt. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just snip off maybe to here somewhere. I think I'm just going to snip this off, and we're going to see what happens here. Okay. So there's that. And I want to make sure that I give myself, you know, something to work with for space, because see how his feet are now going to be hanging off the edge. So I may end up having to snip it further back, maybe, you know, somewhere in there. But let me go ahead and just bend this up a little bit so it'll stick in his back and hold him up. I'm going to kind of come in at an angle, I want to say, somewhere in there. Maybe I'll just give myself just a tiny bit more room to work with. Okay. All right. So there's that. And now what I can do is tighten down my nuts and bolts. There's my little stand in the back. I can position this however I want. And I'm going to go ahead and just gently insert it into his back. And this again is just to hold this in place while I'm working. I don't necessarily have to you know, make it all, you know, like I can just leave it as it is. And yeah, see, so that's how that'll work. So yeah, in fact, let me grab my little spinneroonie here. That's the technical term. This is the spinneroonie. I made that part up. Actually, let me just readjust that for everybody here. Okay. Yeah, see, so that's the start. And it's rough back here, but once I start getting things in place, and or I may end up coming back in and just changing this wire out, because that's the beauty of this piece, is I can just adjust it however I deem fit. You know, I mean, shoot, I can even get a piece of wire and just wrap it around like those doll figures, you know, how you see the little wire that comes around the back and holds around the hips. I could do that if I really wanted to, just to hold it in place. But again, this is just me on the fly, and I'm not, you know, like I said, I'm you know, fairly new to this, so you and I are learning together on the fly right now. So that's basically what I know to start. Yeah, I think so far so good. So anyway, thank you guys so much for checking this video out. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, as I appreciate you, and I will also enjoy taking your knowledge that you have and taking it for my personal use. I'm also kidding on that one, but I will use your guys' input and information if you've got it. I appreciate it. So anyway, thank you guys for checking this video out. I appreciate you, and I will catch you in the very next video.